Hi, my name is Staj. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about 5 things you need to get started to create your own online boutique. I've had my own online boutique since 2021, so I'm going to tell you the 5 most important things to get started. The first thing you need to get started with an online boutique is a plan. This is very important, and yes, I know you're excited to start selling, I know you're excited to start making money, but you also want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success by creating a solid plan and a solid foundation. First thing that you can include in your plan, what is the name of your boutique? And this is very important because one, it really reflects on the type of business that you are. What do you want people to know you as? What are the items that you're going to be selling? What is the style? What is the type? This really reflects on the type of business you are, so it's important to have a name that's memorable, that's catchy, that's easily understood so that you can be easily recognizable. Make sure that you're doing your research and vetting out that no one else has the same name as you. You can have this grand idea for a name and be so excited, and then all of a sudden later down the road you find out that there's actually another business or store that has that same name, or it's already been trademarked, or you can't find a website domain to actually include that name. So it's really important to do your due diligence and make sure that you're vetting out what a good name for your business is, making sure that you're doing your research, and one, that it's not trademarked already so that you can utilize it for yourself. 2, making sure there aren't any websites that exist that have that name. That's very important. And you also want to make sure that when you go on social media and you search up this name idea that you have, that no other stores come up, nothing similar, nothing with a dot or an underscore or a period or any other symbols or numbers that might be included in that name. You want to make sure that if someone were to look up your name, you would be the first thing that pops up. So really do your due diligence when it comes to doing your research and finding a name for your business. The second thing you want to include in your plan is just branding overall. First of all, what are you selling? Be very specific about what you're selling and who you're going to be selling it to. It's fun to say, oh, I'm just going to be selling clothes. I'm going to be selling cute clothes. But I think it's important to also have a specific path in how you'll be selling your product. So let's say, for example, you want to sell shoes, right? You can't just say, well, I just want to sell cute shoes to women. What types of shoes do you think you can gravitate an audience for? And that can be shoes specifically for, let's say, the corporate baddie, right? You want to sell flats. You want to sell pumps for women who are going into work or into the office every day. Or do you want to sell comfortable shoes, right? You want to sell stylish shoes that are affordable but also provide comfort as well. Really narrow down on the type of product or products that you'll be selling, and that can give you a better grasp on how you want to brand and market your products. Another thing to include in your plan is a marketing plan. Now, it's easy to say, well, I'll just post on social media, right? That's not necessarily the case when it comes to boutique. You really have to make sure that you're putting yourself out there by not just posting on social media and expecting a huge following. It's easy to say, I'll just post on Instagram, I'll just post on TikTok, and people will just find me just because. And that's not always necessarily the case. You want to make sure that you're having a valid marketing plan, not just posting on social media, but how are you going to get customers to your website? How are you going to send emails or text message marketing to your potential customers? How are you going to spread the word about your business and your boutique? These are some of the things you want to really think about and really drill down on when it comes to your marketing plan as well. Another thing to consider is if you're doing this alone or with a partner, how do you see yourself managing your business day to day? So how are you going to organize your files, your taxes, your expenses? How are you going to do reporting for your business to understand different metrics or analytics that can help you, gain a perspective on how you're performing or how well your business is doing? these are some of the things that you want to include in your plan as well, is making sure that you're well organized with all of your documents, with all of your taxes, with all of the money that you're spending, with the income you're getting in. You want to make sure that you're documenting all of these things firsthand before you even get to the nitty-gritty, the fun stuff as well. Especially if you decide to go into this with someone else, with a partner, it's important to understand what your responsibilities are before you even get into the nitty-gritty, so everyone knows what their roles and responsibilities are. Okay, the second thing you need to get started with a boutique is money to invest. And no, you don't need thousands of dollars to actually get started with your business, but let's be realistic, you do need money to get started. And I think people tend to think that, you can just hop into a business and spend the least amount of money to be successful, but that's not necessarily the case. You will need to spend money. And I think it's important that you set those expectations out early so that you're not feeling surprised or worried on how you're going to have the money up front for some of these costs that might come up later on. So some of the things you want to have money for or keep in mind that you want to save money up for to invest in are things like inventory, right? You want to make sure you have enough money for inventory on hand to store, or making sure that you have the money or a cushion to cover any fees or costs that may come up when a customer does buy a product from your boutique. You also want to make sure that you have money for things like licenses, like accounts, like bank accounts, certificates. These are all gonna come up. It's important that you set aside money for those costs right away. You also want to make sure you have money for things like any type of services that you don't really see yourself doing yourself. So for example, how are you going to put products on the website? Do you see yourself taking the pictures yourself, or do you see yourself hiring a photographer? If you do see yourself taking the pictures on your own, are you going to have a camera to take those pictures? Just going to do it with your phone? Which location are you going to take those pictures at? These are all things you need to think about in terms of how much you're going to invest and how much of a budget you're going to set for yourself. You also want to think about things like your logo or your website. Do you see yourself hiring a photographer for that? Or do you see yourself doing those things on your own? And if so, do you have to invest the time? Do you have to invest in a class? Do you have to invest in someone teaching you to do that? All in all, I think it's important to set out a budget in order for you to understand how you're going to allot a certain amount of money towards all of these different aspects for your business. But do know that it's very important that you will need money to actually get started. Okay, the third thing you need to get started with the boutique is inventory. So after you decide, you have your name, you know what you want to sell, you've narrowed down on your target audience, where are you going to get your inventory? If you see yourself as a boutique that will sell clothing, shoes, accessories from a wholesaler or a manufacturer in bulk, it's important that you really vet out inventory from these wholesalers and manufacturers, and there's a lot of research online, but I can also do additional videos on this as well to really get into the details about finding inventory for your boutique and how to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. When it comes to getting inventory from these wholesalers and manufacturers, one, you want to make sure that you find reputable wholesalers and manufacturers. You can find a good handful of wholesalers or manufacturers that can be your go-to, that you can purchase inventory from, and that you can brand on your own and then send to your end customers. In order to do that, you want to make sure that the cost aligns with the budget that you have for inventory. So although you might find some really good pieces from a wholesaler, right, it might be way outside of your budget, and you won't be able to really make money on it because you won't have enough money to cover to get the inventory in the first place. So make sure that your wholesaler and your manufacturer, they meet your budget needs in terms of buying inventory in bulk. You also want to make sure that you're vetting out the quality of these pieces as well. So typically it's very important that you get samples from these wholesalers and manufacturers before you even buy anything in bulk. Or if you can, go to them in person, go to, a fashion district in person, and you can actually touch and feel and see what the quality looks like before you buy a bulk of this inventory. Now, when it comes to inventory, how much do you buy when you're getting started? You want to make sure that you're not over purchasing inventory because one, you're just getting started, right? You don't know, what's going to sell on your site. You're not going to know what your customers really like, what they don't like, what they gravitate towards. This is still a discovery phase for you. So you're still doing a lot of analysis on how your store and your boutique is going to perform. It's important that you keep in mind to not over purchase inventory because you don't want to be stuck with a boatload of inventory and not be able to sell it, and then you're kind of breaking even or having to lose money on this because you bought too much of it, right? So I say when you're first getting started, make sure that you're buying, a smaller amount of inventory. And one thing that I did when I got started with my boutique is there's some wholesalers and manufacturers that offer packs in packs of 3 or packs of 6. So let's say you're selling loungewear, right? You don't want to buy too much at once, but you want to see and get a feel for what your customers like. So you can say, okay, I'll buy a single pack. In that pack, it'll include 1 small, 1 medium, and 1 large. That's it. But you do want to keep in mind that you also want to model these products as well. So you can either buy 1 small, 1 medium, 1 large, which would be 1 pack. You can buy 2 packs, which would include 2 smalls, 2 mediums, and 2 larges, and then keep a medium for yourself to try on, to model, things like that. So this is something that you want to keep in mind when it comes to inventory, is do not buy too much inventory when you're just getting started. Remember, you're really just testing out the waters to see what your potential customers will really like. It might be cute to you, but your potential customers not really, like it at all, or might not be interested in all. So keep that in mind. So very importantly, when it comes to inventory, make sure that you're buying a minimal amount, but still having enough where you can sell and make a profit. Another option you can do is something called print on demand, where you're not actually having the inventory on hand, but the product is getting made once the end customer buys it from your website. So for example, let's say you're selling merchandise, right? You're selling hoodies, you have a nice logo printed on these hoodies, and you want to sell them to your end customers. So your end customer goes to your website, they order a medium hoodie with the logo on it, and that order then gets placed to your vendor to actually create the hoodie once it is purchased. So you have no inventory on hand. You're pretty much the middleman, making sure that the order that the customer placed gets handed to the vendor that is actually making those hoodies. And then from there, the vendor then sends them out to the end customer. So you're literally not even shipping out inventory at all. You're just, again, managing, making sure the orders are getting placed, and making sure that whatever your customer ordered on your website is now showing up on the vendor's site. So this is a good opportunity if you don't want to overspend or over purchase inventory as well. I'll say it's just as important to really vet out these vendors as well to make sure that the products are just as high in quality as you expect them to be. You can, easily sign up with a vendor who is selling, dingy t-shirts or dingy hoodies, and the quality isn't meeting your needs, or maybe the print isn't meeting your needs, and then that's going to reflect on your brand as well. So that's something to really think about. So that's another option when it comes to inventory. Another thing you need to get started with your business are licenses, certificates, accounts. These are all some of the legal aspects where it's very important to actually start with before you start with anything else. So first things first, you want to make sure that you're filing for an LLC. And this might be a little tricky if you're doing this online on your own, so I really suggest that you look for services who can file this for you. Something that I used to file my LLC was called InkFile, where they file the LLC for you. They can also get you an EIN, which is really important as well. It's essentially a tax ID for your business. So you want to make sure that you're filing an LLC, and you want to make sure that you're getting an EIN for your business as well. Like I said, I really suggest using a service. I think they changed their name to Busy. I use InkFile, but they changed their name to Busy. You could also use LegalZoom as well. Make sure that you have done all of your research on your business name. Like I mentioned in the first part of creating your plan, your business name is going to go everywhere. It's not just going on a logo, it's not just going on your social media or your website. This is relevant for your LLC, for your certificates, for your bank accounts, for your tax information. So you want to make sure that one, there's no trademarks, make sure that no other businesses are similar or alike in terms of the name, because this can result into some legal issues in the future potentially. So really do your research to know that that business name does not exist elsewhere. When it comes to having a boutique, you also want to make sure that you're getting your seller certificate and your resale license. So for example, like I mentioned in the inventory section of this video, if you're buying inventory in bulk, you're not paying taxes on those, but those vendors likely require a seller's permit or a resale certificate. How it works is you're buying that inventory in bulk. You're not paying taxes on that because you have your seller certificate and your resale license, but when a customer purchases from you, they are then paying tax, which you then pay tax on quarterly, yearly, etc. So this is really necessary for you to actually buy your inventory in bulk. And most vendors will require that you have one of these certificates before you even purchase from them. So again, make sure you're getting all of the information from this section, doing your LLC, your EIN, your seller certificate, etc. Another thing you want to make sure that you're doing is getting a business bank account. What you don't want to do is mix and match your personal finance with your business finance, because it can get very messy when it comes to taxes and things of that nature. So really make sure that you're getting a separate bank account strictly for your business. The last thing you need is a website. This is very important because this is essentially where your customers are going to be shopping from. I personally use Shopify and I absolutely love it. It's very easy to use, it's very understandable, it's very self-intuitive. You can use it on their computer, you can have an app on hand as well. So they have a lot of resources when it comes to just building your website in general. I was able to build my website pretty easily just by looking at the existing templates that they had and then being able to change things up based on my preferences and how I wanted the design of the website to look. But it's really important to have a website or a front end where your customers can purchase from you. You do want to make sure that you purchase a domain, and typically you can do that through the website provider as well. But again, this website domain will be your www.yourboutiquename.com. So this is what customers or potential customers will type into their web browser to find you. And like I mentioned in the earlier section, this is another reason why it's important to really do your research on finding a good name, because you want to make sure that this name isn't taken, and if it is taken, you'll know. Another option is to hire a freelancer to build your website for you. So you can look on sites like Fiverr or Upwork. There's tons of designers, graphic designers, software developers who can actually create the website for you from scratch. So you can kind of negotiate with them on how much you pay or the services that they provide and see the work that they've done in the past. So yeah, you have a ton of options when it comes to building your website, but do know that it's important that you have some sort of interface where your customers can purchase your products from. Okay, so that's it. That is the end of our video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment down below and let me know what other videos you're looking to see, and I'll be doing tons more videos on how to start your boutique, how to build your boutique, and everything around building your boutique. Okay, so definitely stick around and let me know if you have any ideas or topics that you really want me to dive into further. Bye.